Sometimes life falls apart. Not all at once, little by little. One bad habit, one disappointment, one failure, one missed opportunity, until one day you wake up and realize you're no longer living the life you imagined. Maybe you've lost motivation. Maybe you've lost confidence. Maybe you've lost direction. Or maybe you've simply lost yourself. The good news? You can rebuild your life. Not in one weekend, not with one motivational video, and not with one perfect decision. You rebuild it the same way great buildings are rebuilt after a storm. One brick at a time, one choice at a time, one day at a time. And here's the beautiful part. It doesn't matter where you start. It only matters that you start. Hello, my amazing students, and welcome again to your channel. My name is Clara, and today we're going to explore how to rebuild your life, why so many people stay stuck after failure, and the simple psychological principles that can help you create a stronger, happier, and more meaningful future. At the same time, you'll improve your English listening skills, English vocabulary, speaking confidence, and overall English fluency through this powerful psychology lesson. So let's begin, dear students. The first step, accepting that your old life is gone. One of the hardest moments in life isn't failing. It's realizing that the life you imagined no longer exists. Maybe you had a plan, a dream, a relationship, a career, or a version of yourself that you truly believed would last forever. Then something happened. Life changed, and suddenly, you're standing in a place you never expected to be. Now, here's something interesting. Most people don't struggle because their life changed. They struggle because they keep comparing their present to a past that no longer exists. Their mind keeps saying, "My life should still look like this. I shouldn't be here. This wasn't supposed to happen." And without realizing it, they spend months, sometimes years, fighting reality. Now imagine trying to build a new house while refusing to leave the ruins of the old one. It would be impossible. You can't build something new if you're constantly trying to recreate what has already disappeared. That's why rebuilding your life always begins with acceptance. Not approval, acceptance. There's a big difference. Accepting reality doesn't mean you like it. It doesn't mean you're happy about it. It simply means you're willing to stop arguing with what has already happened. Because the past doesn't change, but your future still can. Now, think about nature. After a forest fire, the land looks destroyed. Everything seems lost. Trees disappear, plants vanish. The landscape becomes almost unrecognizable. If you looked only at that moment, you might believe nothing could ever grow there again. But nature doesn't spend time wishing yesterday had been different. It starts growing again. Slowly, quietly, patiently. New plants appear. New trees grow. Life returns. Not because the fire never happened, but because growth always begins after acceptance. Now, here's something fascinating. The human brain often becomes attached to identity. You don't only lose a job, you lose the identity of being successful. You don't only lose a relationship, you lose the identity of being someone's partner. You don't only fail at a goal, you lose the identity of the person you thought you were becoming. And that's why rebuilding feels so difficult. Because you're not only rebuilding your life, you're rebuilding yourself. Now let's connect this to English learning. Imagine someone who studied English for years, then stopped practicing. Months later, they realize they've forgotten a lot. Many people become discouraged. They think, "I've lost everything." But have they really? Not at all. They still have experience. They still have memories. They still have a foundation. They simply need to begin again. Life works the same way. Even after difficult experiences, you rarely start from zero. You start from experience. And experience is valuable. Now here's another important truth. Many people delay rebuilding because they're waiting to feel ready. Ready to change. Ready to move on. Ready to begin again. But readiness often comes after action, not before it. Think about learning to swim. You don't wait until you're comfortable with water before entering the pool. You enter the pool, and comfort slowly follows. Rebuilding your life follows the same pattern. You don't wait until fear disappears. You begin anyway. Now imagine two people who experience the same setback. One spends years asking, "Why did this happen to me?" The other eventually asks, "What can I build from here?" The past is identical. The future becomes completely different because the questions they ask themselves are different. Now here's something powerful. Your life is not defined by what happened to you. It's shaped by what you choose to do next. That's where your power lives, not in yesterday, not in regret, not in wishing things had been different, in the next decision, the next habit, the next conversation, the next step. Now imagine yourself standing at the beginning of a new chapter. You don't have all the answers. You don't know exactly how everything will work out. But you decide to stop looking backward every day. You decide to stop measuring today's progress against yesterday's life. Instead, you begin asking a new question. What kind of life do I want to build from this moment forward? That question changes everything. Because rebuilding doesn't begin when life becomes perfect. It begins the moment you stop waiting for the past to return and start creating a future that is even stronger than the one you lost. That's the first step. Not fixing everything overnight, simply accepting that a new chapter is waiting to be written and giving yourself permission to write it. When people decide to rebuild their lives, they often make the same mistake. They try to change everything at once. A new diet, a new morning routine, a new job, a new mindset, a new workout plan, a new schedule, a new life. It sounds inspiring, until a few days later, it becomes overwhelming, and everything falls apart again. Now here's something fascinating. Your life is not rebuilt through giant decisions. It's rebuilt through tiny victories. Victories so small, they almost seem unimportant. Making your bed, going for a 10-minute walk, reading 5 pages, practicing English for 20 minutes, drinking more water, going to bed a little earlier. None of these actions will change your life today, but together, they begin changing the person you are becoming. Now imagine trying to rebuild a collapsed building. Would engineers place the roof first? Of course not. They would start with the foundation. One brick, then another, patiently, carefully, without rushing. Your life works exactly the same way. Now here's something important. Confidence is not created by thinking differently. Confidence is created by keeping promises to yourself. Think about that. Every time you tell yourself, "I'll practice English today," and then you actually do it, you quietly build trust with yourself. Every time you say, "I'll wake up at 7," and you do, that trust grows stronger. Confidence isn't built because the task was difficult. It's built because you prove to yourself that your words have value. Now let's imagine two people. The first person creates a list of 20 new habits. They're excited, motivated, ready to transform their life. 3 days later, they're exhausted. The routine collapses. They feel disappointed. Now imagine the second person. They choose one small habit, only one. They complete it every day for a month. Then they add another, then another. After 1 year, who has changed more? Usually the second person, because lasting change grows through consistency, not intensity. Now here's something powerful. Every small win sends a message to your brain. I can improve. I can change. I can finish what I start. Those messages slowly replace the old ones. I'm lazy. I always quit. I never stay consistent. Identity changes one action at a time. Now think about learning English. Imagine trying to study 6 hours every day. Most people would quit. Now imagine studying 30 minutes every day. 1 week becomes 1 month. 1 month becomes 6 months. 6 months become a year. Suddenly, you've spent hundreds of hours learning without feeling overwhelmed. That's the quiet power of small habits. Now here's another fascinating truth. Momentum is often more important than speed. A bicycle is difficult to balance when it's standing still, but once it starts moving, balance becomes much easier. Your life follows the same principle. The hardest part is rarely continuing. The hardest part is beginning. Once momentum appears, progress feels more natural. Now, imagine someone rebuilding after losing confidence. They're waiting to feel motivated before acting. But motivation doesn't arrive. Days become weeks, weeks become months. Nothing changes. Now imagine someone else. They don't wait. They simply choose one small action. One. The next day, another. Then another. Little by little, their energy begins returning. Not because life became easier, because action created momentum. Now, here's another lesson. Never underestimate the psychological power of finishing something, even something small. Finishing a chapter of a book, completing a workout, cleaning your room, practicing English. Those moments create evidence. Evidence that you're becoming someone who follows through. And your brain remembers evidence much more than intentions. Now let's go deeper. Many people dream about rebuilding their lives. Few people become excited about rebuilding their habits. But habits are where rebuilding actually happens. Not inside dreams, inside daily behavior. Because your future is rarely created by one life-changing moment. It's created by ordinary moments repeated consistently. Now imagine yourself 6 months from now. You don't recognize your life because of one dramatic event. You recognize it because of hundreds of small decisions. You read more. You learned more English. You became healthier. You became calmer. You trusted yourself again. Not because one extraordinary thing happened, because you kept collecting small victories. And eventually, those victories became a new identity. That's why rebuilding your life doesn't begin with chasing huge goals. It begins with proving to yourself, every single day, that you are capable of moving forward. One small win at a time. Because the strongest lives are not rebuilt in giant leaps. They're rebuilt brick by brick, day by day, choice by choice. There's a sentence millions of people quietly repeat to themselves. I'll start when I have more time. I'll start when I feel confident. I'll start when life becomes less stressful. I'll start next month, next Monday, next year. And without realizing it, they spend years waiting for a perfect moment that never arrives. Now here's the truth. There is no perfect time to rebuild your life. There is only the moment you decide to begin. Now imagine standing at the edge of a swimming pool. You've never learned to swim. You keep telling yourself, "I'll get into the water once I stop feeling nervous." How long would you stand there? Probably forever, because confidence doesn't come before the experience. It grows because of the experience. The same is true for rebuilding your life. You don't become confident first, you become confident by taking action. Now think about learning English. How many people say, "I'll start speaking when my English is perfect"? But how does English become better? By speaking, making mistakes, learning, trying again. Fluency doesn't create conversations. Conversations create fluency. Life works the same way. Action creates confidence, not the other way around. Now here's something fascinating. Your brain loves certainty. It wants guarantees. It wants to know that everything will work out before you begin. But life doesn't offer those guarantees. Every meaningful decision carries uncertainty. Starting a business, changing careers, moving to another city, learning a new language, beginning again after failure. None of these come with promises. They come with possibilities. And adaptable people learn to move forward anyway. Now imagine two people. The first person spends months creating the perfect plan, researching, watching videos, reading books, waiting for exactly the right moment. The second person creates a simple plan and starts today. 1 year later. Who is usually further ahead? Almost always the second person. Not because their plan was better, because movement teaches lessons that planning never can. Now, here's another important realization. The perfect time often becomes an excuse. Not intentionally, but quietly. We tell ourselves we're preparing, when in reality, we're protecting ourselves from discomfort. Because starting is uncomfortable. The first workout feels difficult. The first English conversation feels awkward. The first day at a new job feels uncertain. The first step of rebuilding always feels unfamiliar. That's normal. Growth always introduces you to places you've never been before. Now, think about a child learning to walk. They don't wait until they're guaranteed success. They stand, fall, stand again, fall again. Eventually, they walk. If children approached learning the way many adults do, most of us would never have taken our first steps. Now here's something powerful. Progress belongs to imperfect action, not perfect intention. Many people have wonderful intentions. I want to become healthier. I want to learn English. I want to rebuild my life. Those intentions are meaningful, but intentions without action never become reality. Even a tiny action creates more progress than a perfect plan sitting in a notebook. Now let's connect this to your own life. Maybe there are things you've been postponing, a goal, a habit, a conversation, a dream. Ask yourself one simple question. What small action can I take today? Not next month, not when life becomes easier. Today. Because rebuilding doesn't happen through dramatic moments. It happens through today's decision. Now here's another lesson. Don't underestimate imperfect beginnings. Your first attempt won't be your best. Your first routine won't be perfect. Your first week may feel messy. That's completely fine. Every expert began as a beginner. Every confident person once felt uncertain. Every successful story started before the person felt completely ready. Now imagine yourself 1 year from today. Would you rather look back and say, "I'm glad I started, even though I wasn't ready," or "I wish I had started"? Those two futures begin with one decision: today's decision. Now here's the deeper message. Life doesn't reward people who wait for perfect conditions. It rewards people who create progress despite imperfect conditions. Because waiting feels safe, but action creates change. So if you're rebuilding your life, stop asking, when will I be ready? Start asking, what can I do today? That single question shifts your attention away from fear and toward progress. And that's where rebuilding truly begins. Not on the perfect day, not in the perfect situation, but in the ordinary moment when you decide that today is good enough to take the first step. Because sometimes the smallest beginning becomes the biggest turning point of your entire life. Imagine trying to grow a beautiful tree in dry soil, without sunlight, without water, without space. No matter how strong the seed is, the environment makes the journey much harder. Now think about your own life, your habits, your mindset, your goals. Do you think they grow completely on their own? Not really. They're influenced every single day by the environment around you, the people you spend time with, the things you watch, the conversations you have, the places you visit, even the room you wake up in every morning. Everything quietly shapes you. Now here's something fascinating. Human beings adapt to their surroundings, much more than they realize. Spend enough time with optimistic people, and you'll probably become more optimistic. Spend enough time with people who constantly complain, and complaining may start feeling normal. Spend enough time learning, and curiosity becomes part of your identity. Your environment is always teaching you something. The only question is, what is it teaching you? Now imagine two people trying to rebuild their lives. The first person spends every evening surrounded by negativity, people who criticize every dream, who laugh at ambition, who always find reasons why success is impossible. Every conversation pulls them backward. Now imagine the second person. They listen to educational podcasts, read books, practice English, follow people who inspire them, spend time with friends who encourage growth. Which person is more likely to change? The answer seems obvious, because environment quietly influences behavior. Now let's connect this to English learning. Imagine trying to become fluent while surrounding yourself with your native language 24 hours a day. Progress becomes slower. Now imagine filling your environment with English, podcasts, music, books, videos, conversations. Little by little, your brain adapts. English stops feeling foreign. It starts feeling familiar. The environment changes the learner. Life works exactly the same way. Now, here's another important truth. Your physical environment matters too. Look around your room. Does it encourage the person you're trying to become? Or does it constantly distract you? Imagine sitting down to study. Your phone is beside you. The television is on. Notifications appear every few minutes. Your attention is pulled in 10 different directions. Now imagine another room. Quiet, organized, comfortable. No unnecessary distractions. Same person, same goal. Completely different environment. Which version has a better chance of succeeding? Usually the second one, because discipline becomes much easier when your environment supports it. Now here's something powerful. Many people believe they need stronger willpower. Sometimes they simply need a better environment. If unhealthy food is always in front of you, making healthy choices becomes harder. If distractions are everywhere, staying focused becomes harder. If negative influences surround you every day, staying positive becomes harder. Your environment either reduces friction or creates it. Now think about this. You become similar to what you repeatedly experience. Not in one day, not in one week, but slowly, quietly, almost invisibly. Now imagine spending 1 year consuming negative news every morning, complaints every afternoon, mindless scrolling every evening. Would your thinking remain the same? Probably not. Now imagine replacing part of that time with books, learning, meaningful conversations, English practice, ideas that challenge you to grow. Would that influence your future? Almost certainly, because information is part of your environment too. Now here's another lesson. Sometimes rebuilding your life doesn't begin by changing yourself. It begins by changing what's around you. Cleaning your room, organizing your desk, turning off unnecessary notifications, choosing different conversations, following different people online, protecting your attention. Those changes may seem small, but they create a completely different atmosphere for growth. Now imagine trying to climb a mountain while someone keeps pulling you backward. Eventually, you become exhausted. That's what a negative environment often feels like. Now imagine climbing with people encouraging you, helping you, believing in you. The mountain doesn't become smaller, but the journey becomes easier. Now here's something many successful people understand. They don't only protect their time, they protect their environment. Because they know today's environment becomes tomorrow's identity. Now imagine yourself 1 year from today. Your room feels calmer. Your phone distracts you less. Your conversations inspire you more. Your daily habits support your goals. You're learning English consistently, reading more, growing more. Not because your life became perfect, because you created an environment where improvement became the easiest choice. And that's one of the most overlooked secrets of rebuilding your life. You don't have to fight yourself every single day. Sometimes, you simply need to create a place where the best version of you has room to grow. Because the environment you choose today quietly becomes the life you live tomorrow. Imagine two people standing side by side. The first person has never experienced a major setback. Life has gone mostly according to plan. The second person has fallen, lost opportunities, made mistakes, faced disappointment, questioned themselves, and then slowly rebuilt their life. Which person is stronger? At first, you might choose the first one, but think a little deeper. The second person has learned something the first person hasn't. They know they can survive difficult seasons. They know they can begin again. They know they can rebuild. And that knowledge is incredibly powerful. Now here's something fascinating. Many people believe a difficult chapter automatically ruins a person's future. History tells a different story. Some of the most successful people in the world experienced failure before success. Some lost businesses, some lost jobs, some were rejected, some started over with almost nothing. Yet those difficult experiences often became their greatest teachers. Not because suffering is magical, but because challenges force us to grow in ways comfort rarely does. Now think about learning English. When do you learn the most? When every exercise is easy? Or when you struggle to understand, make mistakes, correct yourself, and finally improve? Usually the second. Growth often hides inside difficulty. Life follows the same pattern. Now here's another important truth. Rebuilding your life doesn't mean becoming the person you used to be. It means becoming someone wiser, stronger, more patient, more resilient. Many people say, I just want my old life back. But what if your future could become even better? Not because the past wasn't valuable, but because you've grown since then. Sometimes life removes an old version of us to make room for a stronger one. Now imagine a piece of steel. Before it becomes incredibly strong, It passes through intense heat, pressure, and careful shaping. Without those difficult moments, it never develops its full strength. People are often similar. The hardest seasons sometimes reveal strengths we never knew we had. Now here's something powerful. Every challenge leaves you with a choice. You can let it define you, or let it develop you. Those are two very different outcomes. One keeps you trapped in yesterday. The other prepares you for tomorrow. Now think about everything you've learned in this episode. Acceptance, small daily wins, starting before you feel ready, creating a better environment. None of these ideas promise an easy life, but together, they create something much more valuable, a life that keeps moving forward. Now imagine yourself 5 years from now. You look back at this difficult season, and instead of saying, "That was the moment everything ended," you smile and say, "That was the moment everything changed." Not because the pain disappeared, but because it pushed you toward a better direction. Now here's another lesson. Never underestimate how much your story can inspire someone else. The person who has rebuilt their life speaks differently. They encourage people differently. They understand struggle differently. Their words carry experience, and experience creates wisdom. One day, someone else may be standing exactly where you once stood, confused, discouraged, unsure how to move forward. Your story might become the reason they don't give up. Now let's return to where we started. At the beginning of this episode, we talked about rebuilding your life one brick at a time. That image matters because nobody builds an entire house in one afternoon. Brick after brick after brick. Progress is slow, sometimes almost invisible. But eventually, a home appears where there was once only empty ground. Your future is built the same way. One healthy habit, one difficult conversation, one page read, one English lesson, one promise kept, one small decision repeated consistently. Those ordinary moments become an extraordinary life. Now, here's the final message I want to leave you with. Don't judge yourself by the chapter you're living today. A single chapter never tells the whole story. Every great book has moments of uncertainty. Every meaningful journey has difficult seasons, and every strong person was once someone who wondered if they would ever recover. If you're rebuilding your life, be patient with yourself. Celebrate small victories. Keep showing up. Keep learning. Keep believing that today's effort matters, even when the results aren't visible yet. Because one day, you'll wake up, look around, and realize you're no longer rebuilding. You're simply living a life you created through courage, consistency, and hope. And perhaps that's the greatest achievement of all. Not creating a perfect life, but creating a life that proves no setback is stronger than a person who refuses to stop moving forward. Because every sunrise offers something extraordinary. Another opportunity to begin again.